Clara had always loved motorcycles. Ever since she was a little girl, she spent hours watching her father clean and repair old bikes in their small garage. The smell of oil, the sound of engines starting, and the shine of polished metal made her feel alive. When she grew older, she opened her own repair shop in the heart of her town. It was small, but it had everything she needed: tools, spare parts, and a wooden workbench she had built herself. Clara loved every minute she spent there. One rainy afternoon, as gray clouds covered the sky and the streets glistened with puddles, the bell above Clara's shop door jingled. She looked up from her work and saw a man standing in the doorway. He was wearing a soaked leather jacket and had a worried expression on his face. Beside him was a beautiful Harley Davidson, but it was clear that the bike had seen better days. The engine was silent and smoke lightly rose from the exhaust. "Hello?" Clara said with a friendly smile. "Looks like you could use some help." The man nodded, running his hand through his wet hair. "Yes, my bike broke down a few miles back. I thought I could make it to the next town, but it gave up on me. I don't know much about fixing it myself." Clara studied the bike carefully. It was a classic Harley Davidson, one of the rare models that collectors admired. She could see it had been loved and used for many adventures, but it needed serious work. She gestured toward the workshop. "Bring it in. We'll get it running again." The man smiled, a mix of relief and gratitude on his face. "Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm Robert, by the way." Clara introduced herself and got to work. She lifted the bike carefully onto the stand, checking every part. As she worked, Robert sat on a stool nearby, watching her hands move skillfully over the engine. He began talking, sharing stories about the places he had visited, the roads he had traveled, and the people he had met along the way. He spoke with warmth and passion, and Clara found herself listening with genuine interest. "I've always loved this bike," Robert said softly. "It carried me through so many adventures. Every scratch tells a story," Clara smiled. "I understand. Machines like this, they are more than just metal and engines. They hold memories, and every repair is like giving them a little new life." Hours passed as Clara worked. She tightened screws, replaced worn parts, and polished the shiny chrome until it gleamed. Robert occasionally offered to help, but Clara preferred to work on her own. There was a rhythm in repairing bikes, and she enjoyed being lost in it. As she worked, she noticed something familiar about Robert. Perhaps it was the kindness in his eyes or the gentle way he treated his bike. She could not place it, but it felt like she had known him before. Finally, the bike roared back to life, its engine humming steadily. Robert's face lit up with amazement. "It's perfect. I can't believe it. Thank you so much, Clara. You have no idea what this means to me." Clara smiled. "I'm glad I could help. Take care of it, and it will take care of you." Robert reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook. "Someday I'll return the favor. Maybe when you least expect it, I will find a way to repay your kindness." Clara laughed lightly. "I don't need repayment. Just knowing it runs again is enough." With a final nod, Robert started his bike and rode off into the rainy afternoon. Clara watched him disappear down the wet road, feeling a strange mix of happiness and curiosity. She could not shake the feeling that this encounter was special, even if she did not understand why. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. Clara continued her life in the shop, repairing motorcycles and meeting new people. Sometimes she thought about Robert and wondered if he had continued his travels safely. She never expected to see him again, but the memory of that rainy day stayed with her. It was the day she fixed a Harley Davidson for a stranger who left a mark on her life without even knowing it. The following spring, Clara's shop was busy as usual. The town had grown quiet after winter, and motorcycles began appearing more often on the streets. Clara enjoyed seeing them come and go, each bike carrying its own story. She spent her mornings fixing engines and afternoons chatting with bikers who stopped by, always curious about the roads they had traveled. One sunny afternoon, as Clara polished a shiny red motorcycle, she noticed a young man walking toward the shop. He looked hesitant, almost nervous. His dark hair was messy from the wind, and he carried a small backpack. Clara put down her cloth and gave him a warm smile. "Hello there. Can I help you?" The young man looked at her, his eyes wide and a little uncertain. "Are you Clara?" he asked. Clara nodded. "Yes, I am." "And you are?" "I'm Michael," he said. "Michael Roberts, my father. He told me stories about a kind woman who once helped him fix his Harley. I think I think that was you. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She remembered Robert and the rainy day years ago when she had repaired his bike. She had wondered about him often, but she never expected his son to come looking for her. Yes, it was me, she said softly. Your father. He must have traveled far after that day. Michael nodded, looking around the shop with admiration. He always talked about that day. About how you took care of his bike and listened to his stories. I grew up hearing about you and I wanted to meet the person who made such a difference to him. Clara invited Michael inside and offered him a seat. She felt a mix of curiosity and warmth. Tell me about him, she said. I would love to hear. Michael smiled faintly. He loved to ride. Every time he got on his bike, he felt free. But he always said that the best part of the journey wasn't the road itself, but the people he met along the way. He always remembered you. Clara felt a strange happiness. It was nice to know that her small act of kindness had stayed with him. I remember him, she said. He had a calm way about him, and he cared about that bike like it was part of his family. Michael leaned forward. He wanted me to find you one day. He said that if he couldn't return himself, then I should. He said there was something important he wanted you to know. Clara's curiosity grew. Something important? She asked. Michael nodded, reaching into his backpack. He pulled out an old, worn notebook. The cover was faded and the pages were yellowed with age. He kept this, Michael said. He wanted you to have it. He said it would explain a lot and maybe even help you understand why he never returned. Clara carefully took the notebook in her hands. She could feel the weight of the memories inside. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it and began to read. The pages were filled with notes about his travels, sketches of places he had seen and reflections on the people he had met. But as she turned the pages, she noticed something else. Small messages, almost like letters written to her. My life changed the day Clara fixed my bike. One note read, Her kindness reminded me that even in a world full of challenges, there are people who care. I hope one day I can return the favor. Clara's eyes softened. She had never expected such words. The man she helped that rainy afternoon had carried gratitude in his heart for years, and now his son had come to deliver it. Michael watched her quietly. He always wanted to make sure you knew your act of kindness mattered, he said. He said that small gestures can change lives, and you changed his. Clara closed the notebook gently and looked at Michael. She felt a connection not just to him, but to the father she had never seen again. I am glad you came, she said. This means a lot to me. For a moment, the shop was quiet except for the gentle hum of machines and the distant sound of motorcycles on the street. Clara realized that sometimes life worked in mysterious ways. People come into our lives, leave a mark, and years later we find the threads connecting us in ways we could never imagine. Michael smiled, relieved to have completed his father's wish. There's more I want to show you, he said, but I think you should see it after you read the notebook. Clara nodded. She felt a sense of excitement mixed with wonder. The story of Robert and his journeys had just begun to unfold, and now she was part of the next chapter. Clara spent the evening reading Robert's notebook. Each page was filled with sketches of winding roads, small towns, and quiet countryside spots he had visited. There were notes about people he had met and small lessons he had learned along the way. Clara was amazed at how detailed and thoughtful the notebook was. She could almost feel the wind on the open roads and hear the roar of the Harley's engine, as if she were riding alongside him. Michael watched her quietly, letting her absorb the words. He always wanted someone to understand, he said softly. He said that even if he could not return himself, you should know why he left. There are things he discovered that he wanted you to see. Clara looked up from the notebook. Things he discovered? She asked, curiosity shining in her eyes. Michael nodded. He found a small village during one of his trips, a place so peaceful that he stayed longer than he expected. He said it reminded him of kindness and honesty, things he thought were fading in the world. He wrote that he hoped people like you would see it one day, maybe even visit. Clara smiled. She felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that Robert had thought of her even when he was far away. It feels like he wanted to share a piece of happiness with me, she said. Michael reached into his backpack and pulled out a small envelope. He left this for you too, he said. Clara carefully took it. The envelope was old but intact. Inside there was a folded letter and a tiny key. Clara's fingers trembled slightly as she unfolded the letter. The letter began simply, Clara, your kindness gave me hope. You reminded me that even small actions matter. I cannot return in person, but this key will guide you to a place I discovered. It is a secret spot, quiet and full of life. Take care of it and remember that every act of goodness comes back to us in ways we cannot see. Clara held the key in her hand. It was small, brass, and worn with age. She looked at Michael, unsure how to feel. A secret place? She asked. He really wanted me to find this. Michael nodded. He said you would understand. He trusted you. Clara took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of excitement and wonder. She had never been to a secret place before, but the thought of discovering something Robert had treasured for years filled her with energy. She imagined a quiet meadow, a hidden cabin, or maybe a small garden where he had spent peaceful moments thinking and writing. Michael smiled, seeing her enthusiasm. He wanted to show you that kindness has its rewards, he said. Not just the moment when you help someone, but the happiness and peace it brings later. This place is proof of that. Clara carefully put the key and letter into her pocket. I have to find it, she said softly. I want to see what he found. Michael's face brightened. He said it's not far from the main road, hidden by trees. He hoped someone like you would come to see it one day. I thought maybe I could guide you part of the way. Clara felt a thrill. The idea of an adventure filled her with energy. Then let's go, she said. I want to see the place he treasured. The next morning, Clara prepared her tools and notebook, and Michael brought a small map he had drawn from his father's notes. The sky was clear, the sun warm on their shoulders, and the road ahead looked promising. Clara felt as if she were stepping into a story, one that Robert had begun and she was now part of. As they rode toward the hidden spot, Clara looked at Michael and asked, Did he ever tell you why this place was so important? Michael shook his head. Not exactly. He said some things are meant to be discovered, not explained, but he promised it would be worth it. Clara nodded, feeling a sense of anticipation. She loved discovering new places, but this was different. This was personal, a connection to someone who had touched her life years ago. She imagined the quiet of the hidden spot, the smell of grass and flowers, and the warmth of sun on a peaceful afternoon. The road wound through forests and small hills. Clara's heart raced with excitement. She could feel Robert's presence in the journey. Like he was guiding her from afar, she knew that whatever lay ahead, it was a gift of trust and kindness. As they rode deeper into the countryside, the world seemed quieter, calmer. Clara realized that sometimes the best journeys are not just about the destination, but the people and memories we carry with us. She smiled and tightened her grip on the handlebars. She was ready for the next chapter. Clara and Michael followed the narrow, winding path that Robert had drawn on his map. The road twisted through tall trees, their leaves whispering in the gentle breeze. Birds sang softly, and the sunlight filtered through the branches, creating patterns on the ground. Clara felt a sense of excitement she had not felt in years. Every turn seemed like stepping into a new world, a secret place waiting to be discovered. Michael glanced at her. We are close, he said. The map says it should be just beyond that hill. Clara nodded and tightened her grip on her bike handles. Her heart raced with anticipation. The hill ahead looked peaceful, almost magical. They rode slowly, noticing the small details. Wildflowers growing by the roadside, a rabbit hopping into the bushes, the distant sound of a small stream. Everything felt quiet and untouched, as if the world had kept this place a secret for decades. When they reached the top of the hill, they saw it. A small wooden cabin stood in a clearing surrounded by tall trees. Smoke curled gently from its chimney, and a wooden bench sat nearby. The cabin looked well kept, as though someone had been caring for it, yet it was hidden enough that few could find it by accident. Clara felt a rush of wonder. She could imagine Robert standing there years ago, looking at the trees and breathing the fresh air, feeling at peace. Michael parked his bike beside hers and smiled. This is it. This is the place he loves so much. Clara stepped off her bike and walked slowly toward the cabin. Every step felt meaningful, as if she was following the path of a story written long ago. She noticed small details, a flower garden carefully arranged beside the door, a stack of firewood neatly piled, and a small bicycle leaning against the cabin wall. It all felt personal, like someone had left a part of themselves here for her to find. She turned to Michael. It's beautiful, she said softly. I can see why he treasured this place. Michael nodded. He wrote that it was a place where he could think and create, a place where the world felt simple and honest. He said he hoped someone who understood him would come here someday. Clara felt a deep warmth in her heart. She opened the cabin door carefully. Inside, the cabin was small but cozy. A wooden table sat in the center, covered with papers, notebooks, and sketches. A small bookshelf held books about nature, travel, and motorcycles. Clara ran her fingers over the notebooks, feeling the history and care in each one. She could almost hear Robert's voice telling stories, explaining the roads he had traveled and the lessons he had learned. Michael walked over and picked up a small box from the shelf. "He left this for you too," he said. Clara opened it to find a collection of photographs and letters. The photographs showed Robert on his Harley, traveling across forests, mountains, and open plains. In some pictures, he smiled warmly at the camera. In others, he looked thoughtful, gazing at the horizon. Each photograph seemed to tell a story. One letter caught Clara's eye. She opened it carefully and read aloud. "Clara, if you are reading this, you have found my favorite place. I wanted to show you that the smallest acts of kindness can grow into something much larger. This cabin, these notes, and even this land are my way of saying thank you. Treat it well and it will bring joy, just as your help brought hope to me." Clara looked at Michael, her eyes shining. "He really wanted me to understand," she said softly. "He trusted me with this place, with his memories." Michael smiled. "He always said that people who act with kindness are rare. He wanted you to know that your act mattered, not just for him, but for the years that followed. He left this for you to discover the rewards of helping someone with no expectation in return." Clara felt a wave of gratitude and joy. She realized that this hidden place was more than just a cabin or a clearing. It was a symbol of hope, trust, and the power of kindness. She looked around at the trees, the flowers, and the cozy cabin. She could imagine herself sitting here for hours, writing, thinking, and feeling connected to the man who had trusted her so completely. For the first time in a long while, Clara felt completely at peace. She understood that some journeys are not about speed or distance, but about the meaning we leave behind and the connections we make. Robert had left her a gift far greater than she had imagined. She turned to Michael. "We should preserve this place," she said with determination. "It is special and it deserves to be remembered." Michael nodded. That's exactly what he wanted. He believed that kindness should continue to grow, and now it will. Clara smiled, feeling the sunlight warm her face. The adventure had brought her here, but the real gift was the connection between past and present, between people who cared for each other across time. Clara spent the morning exploring every corner of Robert's hidden cabin. The sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the wooden floor and the shelves filled with books and papers. She could feel the care Robert had put into every detail, the neatly stacked firewood, the small garden outside, and the journals filled with notes and sketches. Every item told a story, and every story felt like a piece of him reaching out to her across time. Michael watched her quietly, knowing how much this discovery meant to her. "He wanted you to see all of this," he said softly. "He said that even small acts of kindness create connections that last longer than we expect." Clara nodded. "I see that now," she said. She opened one of Robert's notebooks and began reading. The pages were filled with notes about people he had met, roads he had traveled, and lessons he had learned along the way. Some entries were about motorcycles and travels, but others were deeper, reflecting on life and human connections. One entry caught her attention. It read, "Life is full of moments that pass quickly. We may not realize how important a small action can be. Help someone, listen to them, care for them, and you plant seeds that grow long after you are gone." Clara smiled, feeling the truth in his words. She thought about the day she had fixed Robert's Harley, not knowing how much it would matter. Now she understood that kindness is not measured by recognition or reward. It is measured by the way it touches others' lives. Michael walked over to a small wooden box on the shelf. "He wanted you to have this too," he said, opening it to reveal several letters addressed to Clara. She carefully picked one and read it aloud. "Clara, if you're reading this, know that you made a difference in my life. Your help reminded me that even in a busy, complicated world, there are people who care. I hope that wherever you are, you continue to inspire others as you inspired me." Clara felt tears welling in her eyes. She had never expected such words, yet they felt deeply personal. She realized that the simple act of helping a stranger had created a bond that lasted for years. Robert's gratitude was not just about the bike. It was about the understanding, the respect, and the trust they had shared in that brief encounter. Michael sat beside her and smiled. He believed that people like you are rare. He wanted to show that a kind action can lead to something bigger, something meaningful. This cabin, these notes, everything here is proof of that. Clara looked around the cabin, feeling a new sense of purpose. She wanted to honor Robert's memory and the lessons he had shared. "We should preserve this place," she said. "It is more than just a cabin. It is a reminder of how kindness can create a ripple that touches lives in ways we cannot see." Michael nodded. He hoped someone would continue what he started. He wanted the message of kindness to spread, and now it can. Clara spent the rest of the day organizing the cabin, carefully placing notebooks and letters in order. She wanted everything to be neat so that anyone who visited in the future could understand the story and the lessons Robert had left behind. She could feel a connection not just to Robert, but to the values he had lived by: honesty, care, and respect for others. As the sun began to set, Clara stepped outside and looked at the small clearing around the cabin. The flowers swayed gently in the breeze and the distant mountains glowed with golden light. She realized that this hidden place was more than just a secret spot. It was a symbol of hope and trust, a place where the lessons of life were captured in simple, everyday actions. Michael walked beside her. "He wanted you to know that even small gestures matter," he said. "He hoped you would carry this message forward." Clara smiled and nodded. "I will. This place, his notes, and the memories will remind me every day. I will make sure the story continues." For the first time in years, Clara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had discovered a hidden treasure, not made of gold or jewels, but of stories, lessons, and the enduring power of kindness. She realized that life's most meaningful gifts are often unseen, waiting to be discovered by those who are willing to care. As night fell, Clara and Michael sat outside the cabin, watching the stars appear one by one. The world felt quiet and full of promise. Clara knew that Robert's legacy would live on through her actions, through the stories she shared, and through the kindness she continued to show. The journey was far from over, and she felt ready for whatever came next. The next morning, Clara woke early, excited to explore more of Robert's hidden place. The cabin had already begun to feel like a second home, a space filled with memories, stories, and lessons. Michael was already outside, examining the small garden, carefully noting the flowers that Robert had planted. Clara came out with the notebook in her hands. "There's something I haven't noticed before," she said. "Some pages are folded differently, almost like they are pointing to something specific." Michael looked curious. "Maybe it's a clue," he said. "Your father, no, I mean Robert, was careful with details. He always liked leaving things that needed discovery." Clara and Michael began examining the folded pages. They revealed sketches of the surrounding area, small paths through the trees, and even markings that seemed to point toward a particular spot behind the cabin. Clara's heart raced as she realized this might be the secret Robert wanted to share, the true treasure of his hidden place. "Look here," Michael said, pointing to a drawing of a large oak tree. "The sketches show that something is hidden near this tree." Clara nodded. She could feel her hands trembling slightly. She walked toward the tall oak tree at the edge of the clearing. Its branches stretched wide and the sunlight fell softly on the ground beneath. Clara noticed a small wooden box partially covered by leaves at the base of the tree. She bent down and carefully pulled it out. The box was old but sturdy, with a brass lock. Clara reached into her pocket and took out the small key Robert had left. Her fingers fit it perfectly into the lock. She turned it slowly and the box clicked open. Inside, she found a collection of small items: an old compass, a leather-bound journal, and a sealed envelope with her name written in Robert's handwriting. Clara carefully took the envelope and opened it. Her eyes widened as she read the words. "Clara, if you are reading this, you have found the final part of my gift. The compass is to guide you. The journal is to share my travels and thoughts, and the memories in this box are for you to understand the journey I have taken. May this inspire you to continue living with kindness and courage." Michael smiled, seeing Clara's expression. "He really trusted you," he said. "He wanted you to know everything. This is the part he kept hidden because it is personal, just for you." Clara looked through the journal. Each page was filled with stories of Robert's travels, small towns he had visited, people he had met, and lessons he had learned along the way. There were sketches of sunsets, fields, rivers, and mountains. But more than that, The journal carried his reflections. How small actions create ripples. How kindness changes lives and how trust and care make the world a better place. "This is incredible," Clara said softly. "He wanted me to see not only his travels, but the meaning behind them. This is more than a gift. It's a lesson for life," Michael nodded. He believed that true adventure is not just about roads or places. It's about people, memories, and the choices we make. Clara looked around the clearing, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that Robert had left her more than just objects or letters. He had left her a path to follow, a way to connect with life and the people around her. Every sketch, every note, and every item in the box carried a message about caring, patience, and understanding. She held the compass in her hand, feeling its weight. It was more than a tool, it was a symbol of guidance. Robert had guided her from afar, and now she could continue that journey in her own way. Michael smiled and said, "He always wanted to remind you that small actions have big effects. You helped him without thinking twice, and now his gift helps you continue that kindness." Clara looked at the compass, the journal, and the envelope. She felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that Robert's secret was not about material things, but about wisdom, values, and the ripple effect of good deeds. The hidden cabin, the secret box, and the thoughtful journal all represented the idea that life is meaningful when we help others, listen, and care. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Clara took a deep breath. She knew that the journey was not over. There were stories to continue, lessons to share, and kindness to spread. Robert had trusted her with his secret, and now it was her turn to honor that trust. She turned to Michael with a smile. "We should make sure his story lives on," she said. "This place, these lessons, they are meant to inspire others." Michael nodded. "Exactly. That's the secret he wanted you to discover, the power of kindness and the way it shapes our lives." Clara held the compass tightly and looked toward the horizon. She felt ready for whatever came next. After discovering Robert's secret box and journal, Clara felt a sense of purpose she had never experienced before. The hidden cabin, the letters, the compass, all of it was more than just memories. It was a reminder that kindness and trust could change lives in ways no one could see immediately. She knew she wanted to honor Robert's legacy, and Michael's presence made the moment feel complete. "Where do we start?" Michael asked, noticing the thoughtful look on Clara's face. Clara held the compass carefully, turning it over in her hands. "We start by understanding what he wanted us to do," she said. "He left all of this to remind us that life is about more than just ourselves. It's about the people we help, the memories we create, and the trust we share." Michael nodded. He believed in sharing his experiences. He wanted us to see that small acts of kindness ripple out and touch many lives. Clara smiled and stood, looking around the clearing. The flowers swayed in the gentle breeze and the cabin glowed softly in the sunlight. She felt a deep connection to Robert even though she had only met him once. His presence lingered in the small things, the careful arrangement of the garden, the neat stacks of firewood, the detailed sketches in the journal. It was as if he was guiding her from afar, showing her the importance of every decision and action. "We could start by sharing his story," Clara said suddenly. "Not just the adventures, but the lessons, the kindness, the trust, the little moments that mattered most to him. People need to know that small gestures can create great impact." Michael smiled. "Exactly. That's what he wanted, and now you have the chance to continue it." Clara spent the next few days carefully going through Robert's journal and letters. She made notes about the lessons he had shared, the towns he had visited, and the people he had helped. She organized the sketches and photos, imagining them as part of a story that could inspire others. Every page reminded her that kindness and care were the most important treasures in life. One afternoon, she decided to take Michael and the journal to the nearby town where her shop was located. The people there were friendly and curious, always ready to hear stories about travel and adventure. Clara set up a small display in her shop with Robert's sketches, letters, and photos, telling his story to anyone who visited. She explained how he had been helped by a stranger, how that simple act had changed his life, and how he had left a secret place filled with memories and lessons. People listened with interest. Some smiled, some nodded thoughtfully, and others were inspired to share small acts of kindness themselves. Clara realized that Robert's story was not just about the past, it was shaping the present. His message of trust, care, and kindness was spreading in ways he could not have imagined, and she felt proud to be part of it. Michael watched the reactions of the people and smiled. He would be happy, he said softly. He always wanted his story to help others, not just keep memories for himself. Clara nodded. She could feel Robert's presence in every corner of her shop, in every conversation, and in every smile his story inspired. The secret cabin and the hidden box had taught her that life's most valuable lessons were sometimes hidden, waiting for someone patient and kind to discover them. That evening, after the visitors had left, Clara and Michael returned to the cabin. The sun was setting, casting golden light across the trees and clearing. Clara looked at the cabin and felt gratitude. She knew that the journey was not over. This was only the beginning. "Do you think people will continue his story?" Clara asked. Michael smiled. "I know they will. Kindness spreads just like he believed. Your actions combined with his story will reach many hearts. That's the secret he wanted you to see." Clara held the compass tightly and looked at the horizon. She felt ready to guide others, to share Robert's lessons, and to continue the journey he had started. The cabin, the hidden box, and the journals were no longer just memories. They were living reminders of what a single act of kindness could create. For the first time in years, Clara felt completely at peace. She had discovered more than a secret place. She had discovered purpose, connection, and the true meaning of generosity. And she knew that with every story she shared, every lesson she passed on, Robert's spirit and message would live on forever. The sun rose over the small town, casting a warm golden light on Clara's shop. Inside, her display of Robert's sketches, letters, and journals had begun to attract visitors. People came from nearby towns and even further away, curious about the story of the man whose life had been changed by a simple act of kindness. Clara felt proud and happy, knowing that Robert's lessons were reaching new hearts every day. Michael arrived that morning with a small package wrapped in brown paper. He handed it to Clara with a gentle smile. "This came from someone," he said. "I thought it might belong here." Clara carefully opened the package. Inside was a small wooden box beautifully carved, and inside it was a note. The note read, "Clara, if you are reading this, you have discovered the meaning behind everything I ever left behind. This box holds the last part of my gift. Treat it well and remember that the lessons you carry will continue to grow." Inside the box were a few items: a delicate pocket watch, a small leather journal, and a folded map. Clara picked up the journal first and began reading. The pages were filled with Robert's reflections on life, trust, and kindness. He wrote about the people he had met, the help he had received, and the small gestures that had shaped his journey. Each page carried the warmth of someone who had seen the value in simple acts and who wanted others to see it too. The pocket watch was engraved with a simple phrase, "Time spent helping others is never wasted." Clara held it in her hands, feeling the weight of its meaning. She realized that this was not just a gift, but a reminder that every moment she spent caring for others was valuable. Michael pointed to the folded map. "This shows places he visited, people he helped, and spots he found inspiring," he said. "He wanted you to have it so you could continue discovering and sharing his story." Clara smiled. "He trusted me with all of this," she said softly. "He trusted me to continue the journey he began. That is the greatest gift I could ever receive." Over the next few days, Clara and Michael carefully studied the map, visiting some of the spots Robert had marked. Each place held a small story, a lesson, or a memory. Clara felt connected to him in a way she never had before. It was as if his spirit was guiding her, reminding her that every act of care and kindness mattered. One afternoon, Clara returned to the hidden cabin. The trees swayed gently in the breeze and the sunlight filtered through the branches. She placed the pocket watch on the wooden table and opened Robert's last journal. She read aloud one of his final notes. "Clara, you have discovered the meaning behind my travels and my secrets. You have seen that kindness is the true adventure. Share it, live it, and trust that it will come back to you in ways you cannot imagine." Clara felt tears of gratitude in her eyes. She had begun this journey by fixing a broken Harley Davidson, and now she held in her hands a lifetime of lessons, memories, and trust. She realized that Robert's gift was not about objects or places. It was about the connection between people, the ripple effect of kindness, and the way small gestures could shape entire lives. Michael smiled at her. "He would be proud," he said. "You are carrying his story forward exactly as he hoped." Clara nodded. She placed the journal, the pocket watch and the map carefully back in the wooden box. "This belongs not just to me," she said. "It belongs to everyone who learns from it. I will make sure Robert's message continues to reach people who need it." That evening, as the sun set and the sky glowed with colors of gold and orange, Clara and Michael sat outside the cabin. They looked at the horizon, feeling the peace and beauty of the moment. The hidden cabin, the letters, the journals, and the gifts had all come together to create something far greater than either of them could have imagined. A story of trust, care, and lasting impact. Clara held the pocket watch tightly. She knew that Robert's journey had ended, but her journey, inspired by his lessons, was only beginning. The kindness she had shown years ago had grown into a legacy, a gift that would last forever. With a deep breath, she smiled and looked at Michael. "It's time to continue the journey," she said. "We will share these lessons, inspire others, and make sure his story lives on." Michael nodded. "Exactly. And every person we reach will carry a piece of his legacy forward." As the stars appeared in the night sky, Clara felt complete. She understood that life's true treasures were not material. They were the connections we make, the kindness we show, and the stories we leave behind. Robert's gift had come full circle, and now it was her turn to pass it on, one small act at a time.